somewhere in the middle of drunkenly running out into a raging snowstorm to confess my undying love to a boy I had just met a month ago, I finally realized the gay thing was not going to go away. And as I stood knee-deep in the freezing snow, in nothing but my undies, socks, and a t-shirt, I also realized that Everclear, which is grain alcohol, doesn't actually make you think as clearly as the name might suggest. Or does it? Because as I collapsed in the middle of that snow-filled parking lot and made the gayest snow angel the world never got to see, I had the clearest epiphany of my life. It was cold out, but I was warm. Now, some people might attribute that thermal blanket to the excessive amount of Everclear I had consumed, but that liquid warmth wasn't what I was feeling. As I look back, I believe in that moment, surrounded by snowflakes and cars and my own vomit, it was the first time I felt a true feeling of freedom. The type of freedom that simultaneously warms your whole body while giving you goosebumps. The type of freedom and warmth I never wanted to live without again. And there, my journey down the rainbow trail truly began. The Weathering Rainbows podcast is the story of what happens next after one feels that kind of freedom. Howdy, y'all, and happy Pride 2021. Did we ever think we would make it here? 2021, the land of the future, where people get to lower their masks and even, shall I say it, make out with a random stranger at a bar. I'm living my life. Anyways, this is Kurtis Sunset, the host of Weathering Rainbows, the podcast for all the sunflowers growing up in tobacco fields out there. You see, I know what that's like. I grew up in the Bible Belt of Kentucky myself, a good old missionary Baptist upbringing, where I likely failed my family, being the only male not to give the Baptist minister path a try. I guess I chose a much different type of ministry. And there's going to be less fire and brimstone here on this show, but it's going to be hot. With our Heap of Trouble segments, you're going to learn about several mistakes that I and my guest have had experiencing LGBTQ plus culture. Times we truly stepped right into the cow patty because we didn't have a clue about pronouns, sexual intricacies, that there even was more than two genders. Hell, to be honest, all I knew is that I was gay and that I liked guys. And I contribute that entire fact to the fact that Disney allowed Zac Efron into High School Musical. So I'm going to blame the mouse. Thankfully, I had some amazing and truly patient teachers along the journey, but I realized that I have been blessed to have the opportunity to go off to college and experience a life much different than one experienced to young adults living in those small towns across the U.S. and abroad. And for the most part, being far away from it, I forgot those feelings I had as a kid. And as the Trevor Project preaches, it does get better, especially if you get out of those rural areas. But then, after a series of events, I came back, and I realized how much I started slowly creeping back into that old closet. We are going to talk about many current things on this episode, and I invite many guests to future episodes. But it was important for me to give a background as to why we are doing what we are doing. Pride Month sometimes seems like Christmas for the gays. Slight side note and forewarning, if I say gays on this podcast, to me, that is an inclusive term for everyone that does not fall under the straight category. It's just a happy term. It's my mother's name. Well, Technically, her name is Grace, but for some reason, that's too big a name for a baby, so they called her Gay, and it stuck. So just know that I respect all of your sexualities and genders and pronouns, etc., 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 but it is sometimes a little difficult to be totally inclusive and saying the alphabet in every sentence. So please just go ahead and accept that when I use the term gays, it's like me walking into a gaggle of gays and saying, "Hey girls." Side note, for my straight male friends, they don't all actually have the female reproductive system. But damn, don't their legs look good. Am I right? Back to my point. Pride Month is like Christmas for the gays. This month alone, we get the second season of Love Victor on Hulu, the spinoff of Love Simon. I, for one, am so excited. This is the kind of show I wish I had seen growing up. Spoiler alert from the first season. Are you ready? Cover your ears if you haven't seen it. But that scene where he goes and meets the LGBTQ plus college roommates in Simon's apartment might have made me cry. And that is true confession, because to me, that was the first time I had seen something I remember feeling. You know, that chosen family we all grow to love. That family where each person becomes a piece of the puzzle of self-discovery. And there's always some member of this giant LGBTQ plus family that has what you're searching for. Those answers to spirituality, self-expression, understanding, literally anything someone out there carries the answers. And that is why we have guests from all over with various backgrounds and experiences. I hope this show provides some piece of your own self-discovery puzzle. But Pride 2021, Santa is pulling out all the gifts. Did you all see Nina West do a pro-LGBTQ family song on Blue's Clues? I don't know about you all, but it is nice to see that sort of visibility at a young age. I'm glad that these shows are finally getting a clue that LGBTQ plus families exist. We also saw Disney announce that Loki was going to be gender fluid. As a kid, if I had even heard the term gender fluid, I probably would have assumed it was something that came once a month exclusively to one particular gender that I wasn't interested in. So it's nice to finally get some education on what that actually means. Hint, hint, tune in to the first guest episode to hear more on that subject. But it doesn't stop there. Netflix, Amazon, countless shows today all have their token LGBTQ plus individuals. Thank you to all of those platforms. Every bit of visibility is important. Unfortunately, though, most of the time, the LGBTQ plus characters play the roles that end incredibly sad. So if you are an LGBTQ plus individual out there that's watching and getting sad because of these shows, know that not every LGBTQ plus story is tragic. In fact, even those that start out tragic tend to get much better in real life. And Lady Gaga, as my witness, I promise you that you were born that way and can live a very happy life. So if you tune into us, we're going to have some major laughs, probably a few cries, but like not a whole lot of cries, like a goldfish bowl of cries, not an ocean, unless those tears are from laughter and having an amazing time. So with all of this visibility, why am I still making a podcast show that deals with the lack of visibility? Living in a rural area and even speaking to young LGBTQ plus college kids that came from rural areas, if you're growing up in a family like mine, those platforms also track what you watch to make other suggestions. And watching any of those shows as a kid would have likely ended in a traumatic experience for me. However, podcasts are a little different. I highly doubt that your parents are going to check your podcast channels in rural areas. They likely don't even realize what a podcast is. So we want to be in their ears, at least, to help provide a proper headspace and encouragement along the way. For those that have more accepting families, we do also have a YouTube channel with videos that can even be more exciting than just listening to us. As a kid, we listen. We listen for any single acknowledgement of acceptance, especially in rural areas, especially from Christian families, especially from our own family. And unfortunately, for most of us, we only hear negative things. We fear that we will become abandoned when the world finally finds out our secret. The reasons LGBTQ plus visibility is so important for rural areas can be summed up in just a few of the statistics released by the Trevor Project in 2021, this year. Here are a few. The Trevor Project estimates that more than 1.8 million LGBTQ youth in the U.S. seriously consider suicide each year. At least one LGBTQ young person attempts suicide every 45 seconds. Y'all, in an hour-long podcast, that is 80 kids. If you're a kid or young adult out there listening to this and you feel that way, reach out to the Trevor Project. Reach out to us at weatheringrainbows.com or on our social media channels. I remember what that feels like, and you won't feel that way forever, but sometimes you do need some help getting through those really bad storms. And so I want you to know that we're here, the Trevor Project is here, and there are plenty of other people and support groups out there to help you. Some more statistics. A third of all LGBTQ youth said they were unable to be themselves at home. I would probably guess that to be even higher for those youth that come from rural areas. Nearly 60% of transgender or non-binary youth said that COVID-19 impacted their ability to express their gender identity. So that's something to remember as we slowly start to come out of the COVID-19 world, that it's important to go ahead and encourage the transgender and non-binary youth to go ahead and start living that true identity again. And a statistic that for me was really difficult to believe is that 44%, nearly half of Black LGBTQ youth, seriously considered suicide this past year. That is just a tragic statistic, and we've got to do better about getting visibility in our Black communities as well as our rural communities. But one uplifting statistic is that LGBTQ youth who had access to safe spaces that affirmed their sexual orientation and gender identity reported lower rates of attempting suicide. And that is why we decided to go ahead and start this show. As a kid, heck, sometimes as an adult, when the sense of adventure isn't there, I would read or listen to a book and escape a bit. If Weathering Rainbows can be that affirming headspace that is fun, entertaining, somewhat educational, and exciting for any of you out there, then we continue to accomplish our mission. You'll hear me tell this story a lot, but as a kid, I didn't know what LGBTQ meant until my first day of college, which ended in quite the awkward experience where I tried to be a part of a club without knowing what that club really was. So hopefully we will be here to help you along the Rainbow Trail. Who is we? Well, this show has an awesome person that does some of the difficult work to make this show happen. Our producer, Tevin Vincent. Now I'll let him introduce himself, but before I do, I just want to say it again. Happy Pride, folks. To all you queer people out there owning it and slaying it and sashaying it and whatever other words these wonderful drag queens tell us is hip and cool to say, thank you. You make us all proud. You are somebody's inspiration. It's Pride 2021. So be visible, be vocal, and be true to yourself. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Don't forget to come on back now. I know we all love a little vibration, so if you are not already, go ahead and subscribe to this podcast. And we will surprise you on occasion with a new release vibration in your pocket. But in the meantime, if you find yourself alone or crossing new horizons along the Rainbow Trail, and you need a friend or even a laugh to get you through those dark and stormy nights, holler on out to us at www.weatheringrainbows.com, where you can find shelter in the blogs, videos, and other episodes that will hopefully keep you out of a whole heap of trouble. So until next time, y'all, giddy up, be true to yourself, and make the best of life. And wherever the wild tracks may lead you, may the rainbow always touch your shoulder.